Hey everyone, it's Lean from ColoradoLean.com. Welcome back to the craft room. After sharing my first 6x6 one-sheet wonder, I knew I wasn't done with that idea just yet. This version still uses every inch of a 6x6 sheet, so it's completely zero waste, but I've added one fun fold card to kind of shake things up a bit. If you're using up scraps or just want a fresh way to enjoy your favorite paper, this one's quick, clever, and really satisfying. Let's jump right in. Before we get started on our cards, let's talk a little bit about the supplies we'll be using today. I'll be using a piece of the 6x6 Echo Park pattern paper from the Love Notes paper pad. And I have chosen this really pretty striped pattern. My card base and the card mats will be 110-pound Recollections cardstock in white and black. I'll be using a variety of sentiment stamps today and stamping them with Gina K Designs Amalgam ink, which has been re-inked in Obsidian black. As always, I have a template for you, and you can download this with the link in the description below, as well as over on the corresponding blog post at ColoradoLean.com. Because this particular piece of pattern paper does not have a specific direction to it, I could create my design any way I like. However, if you were to choose a design with a distinct direction to it, you will definitely want to make note of that before you make your first cut. I want to use my pattern paper in this direction, so with my stripes going horizontally. So the first thing I want to do is trim off 2.5 inches. Now with this strip, I'm going to cut 3.5 inches. So I now have 3.5 by 2.5 and 2.5 by 2.5. And with my remaining piece, I am going to trim this in half at 3 inches. And I will set this piece aside. And this piece I will cut down to 1-inch strips. So here are our final cuts. Again, we have 3.5 by 2.5, 2.5 by 2.5, 3 by 3.5, and we have 3 strips that are 1 inch wide by 3.5 inch tall. All right, let's get started with card number 1. Now, before we jump into that, I do want to mention that the designs you'll see here on the PDF download is just the jumping off point. And I can hardly wait to see what you do with each of these designs. I do also want to mention that I have pre-cut all of my card mats, and I put score tape on everything to save a little bit of time. So as you'll recall, our pattern paper is 3 inches wide by 3.5 inches tall. And our mat is 1/4 inch larger all the way around. So that will be 3 3/4 inches tall by 3 1/4 inches across. So the first thing I want to do is attach my pattern paper to the mat. Now, again, the design that I have in the PDF download, you can place this anywhere you like, up at the top, in the middle, down at the bottom. For today's card, I am going to place it up towards the top. Okay, I did a little readjusting with the camera angle so I could get everything closer to me, but still be in frame for you. So I am going to use my handy dandy club scrap centering ruler, and I'm going to center this piece 1/2 inch down with 1/2 inch borders on both sides, or approximately, because we all know perfection is overrated. And of course, I've already got my pattern paper a little crooked, so there's that. So for the sentiment, I am going to bring in my mini Misti, which if you have been around here for a while, you may recall that this little thing ran away for a while. I have no idea where it went to. While I was at my sister's in November, my husband found it. He won't tell me where it was. He won't tell me when he found it, but here it is. So for this card, I am going to use my Stamp Abilities Card Phrases stamp set. I absolutely love this. I'm going to use the Get Well Soon sentiment. And I'm just going to center this. Now, I didn't get that stamp straight when I put it on the carrier sheet the last time I used it. So it has a little bit of a bow in it here in the middle. I'm going to try and fix it, but again, perfection is overrated. So I want to make sure my card is in the bottom corner. So there is our first card. Card number 2 is one of those designs that you can do so many different things with. As a reminder, our pattern paper is cut to 3.5 inches tall by 1 inch wide, and I have 3 of those strips. And our mats are cut to 3 3/4 inches tall by 1 1/4 inches wide. So I will go ahead and get those adhered down. Now on my sketch, I do have them going horizontally. So I am going to follow my card sketch, and I will be laying these out horizontally like this. Now with this particular pattern paper, I could do just about anything with this design. I can lay them down like this. I could turn them up so they're vertical. I could do 2 vertical and 1 horizontal if I wanted. I could do anything. Because of the way we cut this particular panel, if we had a directional paper, then the stripes would definitely have to be put on here vertically. But with what we have here, the only thing I need to really pay attention to is how my stripes are laid out. So if I put the first one down with the red stripe at the top, it might look a little bit funny if I were to put it on this side down here. So that is the only thing I really need to pay attention to. So for my first strip, I am going to line this up so that it is 1/4 inch from the top and from the sides. And again, I have already put 1/4" score tape on all of my mats, just to save a little bit of time in the video today. Now I think what I'm going to do is turn my card vertically. So of course, when I line up my card this way, it's not exactly at 1/4 inch, but that's fine. What I am going to do is try and get the same amount. I'm going to try and get this lined up as well as I can. So let me know down in the comments if lining up your design is a make or break for a card for you. I'm really curious because for me, if it's a little bit off one way or the other, I'm fine with that. So I'm only going to have about 1/8 of an inch between the first stripe and the second one. And again, I want to make sure that I have the red stripe on the left-hand side. I am going to come back to my card phrases stamp set. And for this card, I will be using the stamp Thinking of You. And there is card number 2. All right, moving along to card number 3. We have our pattern paper that is 2.5 inches square and a black mat that is 2 3/4 of an inch square. Now in my template here, I do have 2 of the corners rounded, but I'm not sure that would look all that great with a striped paper, nor do I think having it corner ways would look all that great. So because of that, I am going to change this up just a little bit, but I am still going to stamp directly onto the card front. To line this one up, I am going to go 3/4 of an inch from the top and from each side. And I think this time I want the dark red stripe to be at the bottom. So I will get that lined up and then drop that into place. The sentiment for this card, I am going to use Opposites Attract from the Greetery. And I'm going to use two sentiments, but I'm only going to stamp them one at a time. So the first one I'm going to do is hello. And then under that, I am going to also stamp dear friend. And there is card number 3. All right, we have come to card number 4, which is our fun fold card. As a reminder, our pattern paper is cut to 2.5 inches tall by 3.5 inches long. And our mat is 2 3/4 by 3 3/4. I'm going to do things just a little bit differently for this card because I do want to stamp directly onto my pattern paper. So I'm going to do that first and give that ink a chance to dry before we move on. And again, I'm going to have the heavy red line towards the bottom. So I will put it in my mini Misti. And I'm going to be using the Cosmo stamp set from Technique Tuesday. this happy birthday. Now, I'm not 100% sure how well this is going to stamp on the paper. So if it doesn't work out quite right, then we can always re-stamp this onto a piece of white cardstock and then back it with some of our black matte paper. And I think that's going to turn out fine. I will set this aside and let the ink dry on it. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about our card base. Right now, I have a piece of 110-pound white Recollections cardstock cut to 8.5 by 5.5. What I need to do with this right now is I need to cut it down so it is 4.25 inches tall by 8 inches long. So I will bring my Tim Holtz Guillotine back in and trim this to 4.25 inches. And this will leave me a really nice scrap paper so that I can stamp sentiments on here. And because my guillotine trimmer only cuts 6 inches wide, I am going to line this up on my card mat or on my desk mat. And I'm just going to mark off 1/2 inch. And then that will let me align it here on my trimmer. Now I'm going to bring in my Martha Stewart scoreboard. And I want to score this at 2.5 inches on the long side. And then with my Teflon bone folder, I am going to burnish this score line. And there we have our little fun fold. Now I have created an inside mat that I will place in my card. And the black mat is 4 by 5.25. And the white mat on top is 3.75 by 5. So that will go just right in here. And our ink should be completely dry now. So this kind of makes me laugh. When I was writing up the directions to this, I made sure to write on here to apply your adhesive only to the left side of the pattern paper in the matte layer so that it only adheres to this top flap. And as I was applying adhesive to everything, I put it all the way around. Not going to work. So I cut myself a second piece that does not have adhesive on it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and put my pattern paper on. So for cards like this, when I don't want adhesive on the entire thing, but it may or may not be like halfway, what I like to do is line up the top decorative piece on top, and then I am just going to flip it upside down. So this is the way it will be on my card. So I'm going to turn it upside down like this. And now this will give me a chance to line up horizontally about where I want to put this. And I'm just going to make a mark to the left of the card base. And now I know that I put my adhesive on this side. And I do want to make sure that there is enough adhesive on this so that it will not come up. And as always, I'm going to burnish it down before I take the paper backing off. That just helps it separate. And now comes the hardest part, and that is lining everything up. Okay, and as you can see, I do not have adhesive on this side, so I did a great job there. And there is our fun fold card number 4. I'm really happy with how all of these cards turn out. I did make one change to card number 4. If you'll recall, I stamped directly onto the pattern paper, and after a while it just looked like the sentiment got lost. So I re-stamped it on a scrap piece of white paper, backed it with the black, and I now love how it pops. You'll notice I didn't follow the card sketches exactly, and that's okay. The pattern paper I chose didn't work out quite the way I expected, so I adjusted as I went. The sketches included with this template are really just a jumping off point. They're meant to inspire you, not limit you, and I can't wait to see how you make them your own. Before we wrap up, I also want to share this second set of cards where I stepped up the original designs with some embossed backgrounds. These were made using embossing folders from my sister's stash. We spent an afternoon making a bunch of these for me to bring home, and I paired them with a scrap piece of pattern paper from a 12 by 12 paper pad. I will have more details and supply information over on the corresponding blog post. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up and be sure to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And don't forget, you can grab the free template using the link in the description or over on the corresponding blog post at coloradolean.com. I'll see you in the next video.